So let's get into Palantir. Why do you think Palantir can change the world? And what makes you excited about this company?
Well, what's perfect about Palantir, so there's a future that's emerging. And in that future, AI is everywhere. And we start to see it a little bit today. Like it's in your microwave, it's on your stove, it's on your phone. But this is just the precursor. These are like the kind of the dumb models. The future edge AI that's coming will actually be able to make changes in the real world. So like right now, all the AI does is typically make a recommendation to a human. But in the future, edge AI will act autonomously, right? So like whether that's changing the direction of wind blades on a turbine or changing the production of an oil rig or, you know, letting you know when your food is done, right? Like edge AI will actually be impacting the real world the way it doesn't today. And that's going to transform our lives. I mean, just think about cars. We've always dreamed of cars that could drive in unison to avoid traffic. Well, edge AI can enable that sort of thing, right? So like there's anomaly detection that can automatically order maintenance service in factories before bearings break down or before parts, fail. Like this future is rapidly approaching, and Palantir has worked backwards from this future, starting, 10 years ago, figuring out what tools and what products are going to be required in order to operate in that future, and also what philosophies and management structures are required to make sure that technology isn't misused. Because if we look today, companies like Google and Facebook have done a phenomenal job monetizing personal data. The social consequences be damned. I think that Palantir is also the right company from a philosophical managerial perspective to not allow the power of edge AI to be misused in the same way social media and ad serving technology has been misused today. That they're the right company to do it, specifically because they've worked backwards from this problem, both from a technical perspective and from a kind of philosophical perspective, and they did it a long time ago, and they're way out ahead, in that sense. So that's why I'm like super pumped on them.
So I want to talk about Google, Facebook, and some of the core technology companies that you talked about. Palantir, I don't know if you saw it, but Alex Karp just released his shareholder letter and explicitly threw some digs at these guys. So we can talk about that a little bit. But I want to retrace
I'm
back
not surprised.
Yeah, I mean it was a phenomenal letter in my opinion. I want to retrace back to edge AI. So when I said, why do you think Palantir changes the world? You said, well, artificial intelligence is going to change the world. And edge AI is this level of artificial intelligence that is going to be different than just asking Siri for something,
exactly,
or a recommendation engine like YouTube or Spotify. So can you kind of break down what is edge AI and why does Palantir have the edge when it comes to edge AI?
So let's just take it from a technical perspective first, which is in traditional ML AI based software, we put all these models in data centers, like on servers, basically. And when you want to ask a question of the model, your phone or device will go out and it will like try and get an inference from the model, passing it some input data, and you get back out an inference, right? And typically in those scenarios, the model is disconnected from any kind of system in which that change would actually happen. So you're getting a prediction from a model. You as the human operator then will take that information and you'll do something with it, right? But that's a really slow feedback loop if you think about it. One, the performance of just sending the data out to this data somewhere, waiting for the model to send back a response, naturally introduces a certain amount of latency in that loop. And that's problematic because if you actually want to take action based on a model, often the window of time in order in which you have to take action is now limited. It's useless in a lot of ways. So you want a faster feedback loop in order to take action quicker. Now, to do that, you got to put the models closer to where the data is being generated, right? So you got to push those models out to the devices that are actually providing the input data, whether that's a sensor in a factory or your phone or some sensor in a car or something attached to a wind turbine. And that way, that feedback loop is now shortened into this almost instantaneous loop. But now you're speeding up, you're running past the human operator in a lot of cases, right? So like that feedback loop is now super fast, but is also so fast that you probably eliminated a human's ability to participate in it. And in a lot of cases, you want to remove the human in the loop and have them just monitor that system generally without each inference needing to go through a human operator to figure out what to do. You want to allow autonomy by the machine to figure out what to do. Edge AI, that feature is unavoidable though. I mean, the train has left the station. That's all going to happen. And it's all happening. It's just that Palantir has built a platform that keeps human operators in a loop. And that was specifically designed as part of their work in the DARPA project to make sure human operators could review these decisions and make sure that they agree machines, you know, and having the benefit of 10 years of being able to do that kind of focus group research, I think is super valuable. So edge AI is this deployment of models out to the devices where the data is generated, and it making autonomous decisions based on that data.
Right. That's the TLDR. The way I always thought of it is
there you go.
The way I always thought of it is in conjunction with IoT devices, right? So like when they talk about their Meta Constellation projects or the stuff they're doing with Wejo with connected vehicle data, it's like these sensors that don't have time to go connect to 5G and then give you results. They have to be operating at the edge to be able to give actionable insights immediately. In terms of edge AI and the market,
but you get my point there, though, that like even if you distribute it out to all those sensors, you're losing valuable decision-making time if every decision has to be reviewed, you know?
Right.
So whether or not to reorder maintenance because a sensor is detecting part failure doesn't need a human to make that decision if you have high confidence in the model, you know? And so what does that world look like?
And that's where you need machine learning for those models to be trained to actually be able to give those decisions.
Yes, exactly. And machine learning, and particularly in this field called anomaly detection, there's a whole branch of machine learning that deals with anomaly detection, provides us way better statistical analysis than we could have done otherwise. And so there's some really good articles out there on anomaly detection, but I have a feeling Palantir has heavily leveraged anomaly detection in the field of machine learning to be able to do all these various things, from fraud detection to improving operations on oil rigs to all. There's a whole category of industrial problems that kind of line up with anomaly detection. So like, but the point is like you have to also consider the world in which machines are autonomous, and what does that look like, and how do we have confidence in that system? That's a hard problem. That's not a simple problem. Anyone can produce a model. Not anyone can operationalize it in a way in which you can have trust and safety. And I think Palantir is one of the only companies that's considered that problem at scale and actually implemented it, like in the harshest environments ever. Like they implemented that system on battlefields, you know, like it's not, so they have practical experience in this space.
And is the reason they implemented and operationalized an autonomous model at scale that could actually reveal good results because of the technology they have, because of the data they have? Like, why are they able to do that per se? Because it's such a hard problem? Or what gives them that competitive advantage to be able to do
that? It's both so it's a philosophical and a technology problem. So like there are two competing branches in artificial intelligence. There's AI, right? Our standard, we're going to make robots that can do everything. And then there's also intelligence augmentation, IA. So you have AI and you have IA. And these are old concepts. They go back to like the 50s. But basically with the approach of intelligence augmentation, you take the approach that you will never have a human completely out of the loop, and that artificial intelligence should be incorporated into workflows that make humans better, but don't eliminate the human. All right. Whereas like artificial intelligence is like, we want an intelligence that can eliminate humans completely. And Palantir traditionally has taken this approach of intelligence augmentation, where there will always be a human in the loop. And our job is to make those human operators better at their job. And that the right partnership is a joint partnership between humans and artificial intelligence, right? And so that's a philosophical decision that guides your decision making, which would be fundamentally different than, say, Google and its approach to artificial intelligence, right? Where they are actively trying to remove the human in the loop. And there are various reasons for that. I think most people in the field realize that like true artificial intelligence is probably a 50-year time horizon. You know, it's like not going to happen today, first of all. So like if you're building systems that believe the artificial intelligence is so good you can remove the operator, you're probably going to get a lot of people killed, because these are long tail problems in which, and by long tail problems, I mean like there are edge cases that your model can't handle that have really bad side effects. And there might not be very many of them, but when there is one, someone gets killed, you know, like that's the kind of problem you have. You can see that with self-driving, for example. And like this idea that self-driving, we're just going to get to L5 and go from L2 to L5, like, no, you're going to get a shit ton of people killed if you do that. Yeah. It's not, you can't do it, you know? But like people in a rush who want to see artificial intelligence remove the human operator and aren't comfortable enough with, you know, just making the operator better, they might make rushed decisions that have really negative consequences. And so I think Palantir has realized that like true artificial intelligence, the general AI we're looking at maybe is 50 years out. It's not something that's going to materialize right now. They've built up a whole ecosystem around explainable AI and intelligence augmentation. And they've done, 5 to 10 years of focus group research within the DoD with tens of thousands of people participating to figure out how to make that explainable AI with intelligence augmentation work. Because it's hard.
Right.
It's actual, like, it's like, how do you make a smartphone work in sense of the user experience? Well, it took Steve Jobs to figure that out.
Yeah.
Like that's actually a hard problem, and no one's really been able to do it better since, you know. And I actually think Palantir on some level is at that level. They have a approach to this that is unique, that makes the human better, and that's not something you can just replicate. It's hard. It's really hard.
That's really interesting when you mention Steve Jobs, because it's like, okay, this device, this thing that has created multi-trillion dollars of opportunities, and ultimately became a platform for the world to be able to create on top of it. That took a lot of engineering, and engineering is one thing, but like the philosophy of Jobs, this whole visionary idea that this one little box can be in your phone and transform the entirety of your existence, that took a lot of philosophical behavior to be able to come up with an idea that could do that. So when you're talking about AI and then AI that works with humans, it seems like you're saying Palantir is one of those companies that has done extensive levels of research influenced by their philosophical beliefs to not replace the human, but augment the human, to actually be able to create a system of an ecosystem of AI that makes sense.
And Peter Thiel talked a lot about that in his books and stuff. Like Peter Thiel is often mentioned as the person who doesn't really believe in artificial intelligence as a thing that's going to take over human jobs. That really the question is, how do you partner machines with humans? And what are the relationships that need to be in place there to make both of those things good and better? So like there's this deep philosophical underpinning to how they approach this problem. Then there are the technical challenges, right? So which there are many. So like one of the biggest technical challenges with edge AI is like, how do you actually deploy all those models out to all those places and operationalize that in a way you can maintain control? It's like, I mean, we struggle with just deploying out to like 4 targets on AWS, and now we've got 4 million. So like that kind of an order of magnitude increase in the deployment targets can absolutely make most systems we use today to manage this collapse. And so they, a long time ago, came up with an operational system, including Apollo, to be able to both deploy models at scale on the edge and have a command and control center to make sure you know what's going on in all those places.